You are saying, let us go up, you don't have water. You are saying, let us go up, you don't have sewer lines. You are saying, let's go up, we don't have roads. You are saying, let's go up, we don't have adequate educational facilities. You are saying, let's go up, we don't have adequate public health or hospitals to treat our people. You are saying, let us go up. Yet the disaster preparedness that we have can only mitigate to a certain extent. You can imagine our firefighters trying to put off a fire on the 50th floor. Currently, even putting off fire on the 20th floor is a challenge. Do you see the president's name anywhere? Where does he come in? Where is he drawing that? Where is he drawing the powers to give instructions on planning matters? Where? He is as ordinary as Philip Kisia when it comes to that matter. And a sick nation will be sick economically, will be sick politically, will be sick socially. It is dead. What gives him the idea that he can do as he wishes? This is not his personal house, this is not for going. I think the president needs to stop being simplistic.
Is there a vacuum post Raila?
Play one clip where Ruto has spoken truthfully.
A very good day to you and welcome to Philip Kisia Unscripted this particular Thursday. My name is Jadiel Kabiro. So glad that you're joining us once again for a conversation which we hope will help our leaders in making better policy decisions, informed political moves. Kisia is seated next to me. He's a truthful man, he says. This week he's been trending in this country. If you haven't seen him, he's been at JKL. He has been in different media stations saying that Kenyans must change. It's time for Kenyans to take action. That is his message. He's got a voice in the desert, they say, calling out in the wilderness. Philip Kisia, thanks for making time for me today. We're going to have an interesting conversation, maybe picking up from where you left yesterday. You were at JKL, about running this city. You know, Governor Johnson Sakaja is under fire now. People are saying he doesn't know how to manage this city well. You were there. Of course, you'll tell us about what it takes to manage Nairobi County. But first, how are you doing today?
Well, Jed, I'm good. I'm looking forward to the Easter weekend.
Yeah,
you can imagine.
Easter.
Yeah.
But this week, you've been at different media stations talking to Kenyans, telling them it's time for action. Leaders must change. What has captured your eye, and how's the week been for you?
Actually, what really was captured my attention was the new president of President Fire. Elected to lead a nation at the age of, is it 42 or 43? Senegal.
Yes.
Okay, that caught my attention. And not just the age, but his opening statement, the statement he made to the effect that change is on the way. What he told the colonial masters about Africa, that it is time that they shed off. It is time that they remove their knee from the necks of Africans so that Africans can start breathing. That was really a loaded statement. And also the fact that I think I've never heard of a president who's just taken over or preparing a president-elect whose first thing was to declare his wealth publicly and said, this is who I am. This is what I have. This is how I acquired what I have. This is what I inherited. This is what and you can see he's a very modest man. And of course, unlike other African heads of states who hide their wives or concubines, this man at that very tender age, he said, no, listen.
Who are you talking about?
Take me, no, listen, he said, take me as I am, I have two. Take me as I am, I have two.
All about honesty.
Yes, but integrity.
What is the thing with our leaders? They come out, they speak very well, but then 2 years, 3 years down the line, it seems like what they talk is different from how they act. What is wrong with that?
I mean, the intentions, particularly of those who seek leadership in Kenya over decades, they are motivated by greed. They want to occupy public space for no other intention. They have no intention of serving people. they come there to raid public coffers. So the fellow comes in extremely poor. A guy who was, even being auctioned, by the time he's leaving office, even after 2-3 years, I mean, you can be shocked.
They're selling properties.
You can be shocked, man. A guy putting on a belt of 500,000 shillings. Some guys were just being auctioned the other day. I mean, it's disturbing, man.
Anything else? I saw a report, I don't know if you saw it, on bribery from the EACC. It's very difficult to get service in Kenya without kitu kidogo.
I mean, as Eric Wanaina told you people, it's more than 2.5 decades ago, I think, Eric Wanaina, he said, Kenya ni inchi ya kitu kidogo. That man was young that time. Now he's, I think must be in his late 40s, right? But he told you then, have things gotten better? No, things are even getting worse. In fact, Kenya sio inchi ya kitu kidogo. Kenya ni inchi ya kitu kikubwa. They raid your pockets, they raid everything, like you've seen what is happening now with this current administration. They are raiding you left, right, and center. And worst of all, the taxes are ending in people's pockets. So these people have no intentions of serving. The intentions are just to enrich themselves, enrich their cronies, and enrich their families. They have no intentions of serving people.
So we don't. I think it's Stalin Barak was asking. You're saying printers are not printing passports. Who's supposed to do that job? So it's about people not doing their jobs, not them having the lack of ability to do it.
Now you see, the fish starts rotting from the top. When you see, I mean, if you just want to confirm that the fish is okay, go for the head.
So could you?
If the head is smelly, then please forget about the fish.
Let's get into today's conversation. I want to talk about Johnson Sakaja, a man who's under fire. A lot of challenges in Nairobi, from high-rise buildings to expressway drainage. Larry Madowo tweeted saying he forgot to carry his boat on expressway because it was pouring heavily there. And then you got to the conversation about doctors, telling doctors to go back to work. 12 hours ultimatum he gave them on Sunday, saying this conversation is not about counties, it's about the national government. So don't bring us trouble in our counties. You have 12 days to go back to work. Force KMPDU coming out and saying, look, we do not take intimidation. You are running this city, Philip Kisia. You are basically a governor, I don't know. But I want us to start with that point. You are town clerk of Nairobi. What was the difference between you and the mayor, and was it easier because now all eyes are on Johnson Sakaja?
First of all, Jed, I must acknowledge the fact that running Nairobi is a humongous task. It's not a walk in the park. Yeah, people go for that office without knowing the burden that you end up carrying. It's quite challenging. But to answer your question, Jed, during our time, we operated under the Local Government Act, I think up to 65. Okay? So basically the city, at that time we only had Nairobi as city, of course, then we had others like Mombasa and Kisumu, had what we called a council. For the case of Nairobi, we had a council. Okay? So we had, for lack of a better explanation, we had two centers of power. We had the executive power, executive office, that was the town clerk, and in my case, when I took over, my job description and the job profile was reprofiled. So I became not just the town clerk, but the town clerk and chief executive officer. Okay, so I took over completely the executive role. And on the other side, we had the mayor, who was a political figurehead. Okay. So mayors at that time were ceremonial. Mayors had no powers. All the powers were vested in the office of the town clerk. So the difference now is that the governor has now been given both the executive power and political power. The political power comes from the people because he's elected. Remember those times, the CEO of the city, when got to office through an interview. I was interviewed by Public Service Commission, right? So that's the difference. That now you have somebody who has both. They have been both collapsed into one. So is it the executive powers and the political powers.
Do you think the job is more difficult for him than it was for you because he has to play politics while governing?
No, it should be easier. Because see, when you are only controlling one arm, you have another guy pulling strings, okay? So here you have a situation whereby there's nobody pulling strings. Actually, the strings are being pulled by you, both executive and political. Okay? So it should be much easier for the governor to govern because you have everything. And then coupled with the resources that are flowing from the national government, okay? And of course, the revenues that are collected internally, locally generated revenue. You are in charge. So you are the final say. But yeah, sorry.
So maybe I would want to know before we go to the next step is a lot of comments come in when you talk about affordable housing, saying it was my administration that came with it. What did you do? If you're saying now it's easier, but what did Philip Kisia do for Nairobi?
Let me take you back, Jed. I think you're not born that time. You know, that's the beauty of age. I was born in this city. My passion to bring change in this city never was, never came into play just because I occupied public office. I remember when I was much younger, I started off as the chairman of Avenue Park Welfare Association. Avenue Park is in Eastlands. And we modeled that gated community, and up to date, if you go to Avenue Park, it still stands out as one of the best governed residential, community
areas,
community estate. Okay. Then from there, of course, I then became the second chairman of Nairobi Central Business District Association. I was actually the chairman of 100 corporations, private companies, and therefore I was the chairman of 100 corporate captains in Kenya. 100 of them.
This big
all the major
that we see.
all of them, all the major banks, all the major companies. We formed an association to regenerate Nairobi. So we are dealing with two things that time: urban regeneration of Nairobi and matters to do security, because those are the biggest challenges that time. I'm not saying that the challenges have been overcome, but they were, and we started off. And I was the chairman for 4 years. I am also the chairman, a founder trustee of KEPSA. KEPSA next month will be 24 years. We founded KEPSA. What does KEPSA do? KEPSA actually promotes good governance, and it collaborates with government to ensure that the operating environment for business is conducive. So I was there. So if you see KEPSA today, you can count Philip Kisia, okay? Then I was also appointed by the Kenya government after being vetted by World Bank. I was appointed as one of the members of a board that was called the Nairobi Interim Oversight Board of Nairobi. That was fully funded by World Bank. Our chairman was Jim Nambaru. We had two critical mandates. Number one, to deal with human resource matters. Number two, finances. And that board was there. We stabilized HR matters. We dealt with financial issues. We audited the council accounts. They had not been audited for 2 decades. We did that. Then, of course, now I joined public service. And I straight away skip the state corporation was running, that is KICC, and go to City Hall.
Okay.
You have asked me, what did I exactly do at City Hall? Good question. Having worked as an outsider for the city, I was now right inside. And what did I do? Together with my team, there are a number of things that we did. Some of them were quick wins. But all of them were geared towards institutional reforms, because there's nothing you can do if the institution is not working. So we had to reform the institution first before now doing things that you can see, roads and so on and so forth. The first one we did was to team up with private sector, create a secretariat, for building plan approvals. So that particular mandate, we handed over to a secretariat that was headed by people in the building space, architects, planners, surveyors, engineers, and so on and so forth. Okay, we gave them that mandate in the secretariat. Then I automated building plan approvals to avoid human contact.
Okay.
So if you are an architect, you plug in your AAK number. After that has been done, you submit your plan. You can track it online. It is then submitted to the secretariat. The secretariat, of course, quickly looks at it, approves or approves the amendments or disapproves. Then the last step, of course, going to the planning committee for the purposes of concurrence. They had no other role to play. Okay, so that's the first thing I did. If you ask planners, they will understand. And that is why we were able to approve any plan submitted to the city of Nairobi within 14 days, maximum 30 days. Any plan submitted. Okay. The other that is reforming.
Yeah.
The other thing that I did was garbage collection. When I took over, I discovered that nobody knew who was collecting garbage, from where, how many times they were supposed to have collected garbage, what was it being paid. That was information, it was a preview of a few people. So I opened it up. I said, now listen, if you have appointed a ward manager, the ward manager does not know it is Jed who is supposed to collect solid waste, how many tons of solid waste, when, which vehicles are coming to collect, where is that solid waste being dumped, and who confirms that that waste has actually got to the final destination. What I discovered when I came in was some waste would be collected, taken to Dondora. Okay, the weighing machine does not work, so it is given an estimation.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Based on the truck.
You look at the truck and say, okay, I think this is 10 tons. Worst of all, the same truck goes around. After 15 minutes, the same truck comes back to the weighing machine. The weighing machine doesn't work. Is weighed again, it goes 3 times. So look at this. One, you have just given an estimate using your eyes. Number 2, the same truck has gone around 3 times. So are we getting value for money? That I removed by making sure that the weighing bridge worked. I also empowered the ward managers to make sure that they were fully in control. They knew who was collecting garbage. So I opened up that space, and I dealt with the cartels at that time. The other thing that I did was to collaborate very closely with CASA, Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, that time. Okay, and because of the collaboration, within 12 months, we became the most reformed, and the most collaborative, public entity. In 12 months, you can go and check the records. In 2010, you'll find that City Council was recognized by none other than Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission. Now, the other things that we did, the master plan for Nairobi that we delivered. Remember, there was no master plan running for this city from the time, the one that we had was from 1973 to 2000. That is the Nairobi Metropolitan Growth Strategy that ended 73. After that, there was nothing. So the city was growing without a plan. So the first thing that we did when we came in was say, hey, wait a minute. We can't continue this way. Others were going to get a halt. The city will come to a halt. So we immediately put in steps. And what was the product? In collaboration with JICA, we delivered now what you call the new plan. Okay, Nairobi Integrated Master Plan. Okay, the new plan. The new plan is our effort. Okay? So I've heard people talk about the new plan, You know, everybody now is now talking about it. But there were people who worked to make sure that that plan was. Don't forget that after 2000, there was no plan. The other thing was, of course, very quickly, the ICT strategy that we put in place. We were the ones who started automating Nairobi, the services. We started off with planning, with the car park. We were going to go to land rates and other services. Our plan was to fully automate this city, fully automate the city within 5 years. Fully.
Just like
up to now, they've only automated how many services? Go and check. How many years later? Almost 13 years after I left. I left them with the plan, the strategy, automation strategy, the ICT strategy. We left when we were doing the test run for parking. Just go and check and find out how many more services have been automated.
Is this the same with e-citizen or what?
E-citizen is just a small component. I'm talking about having a holistic approach to ICT. We delivered an ICT strategy for Nairobi City. Okay. Of course, the other things like the finance strategy that we delivered, we made sure that the council had not been audited. From the time I left Nairobi Interim Oversight Board that was being funded by World Bank, can you imagine? Our term came to an end in 2003. From 2000 and 2002 to the time I took office, there was no audit. The books were not being audited.
So
we immediately audited the books and brought them up to speed. Okay, so we delivered a finance, and I'm going very quick because of time.
Yes.
Human resource. We carried out a comprehensive human resource, not just payroll audit. What all these other counties are now doing, they are just focusing on payroll audit, but there's more than just a payroll audit. Asset management. Show me one county in this country that can give you an asset management register. We started. We left. Even World Bank agreed to fund. In fact, World Bank provided 1.7 billion shillings, not only to fund the asset management for Nairobi program, but even when Machakos, Kajiado, and Kiambu, and so on and so forth. So, and then solid waste management. By the time we were leaving office, we, together with JICA, had put in place a comprehensive plan to deal with the issue of solid waste management. We had finished. In fact, by the time I was leaving office, we were now going to the step of calling for requests for proposals, to have people to come and give us different proposals so that we can implement this plan. Yeah. Okay. But I can tell you, nobody wanted that thing implemented. It has never been implemented up to now.
Why not?
13 years later, that solid waste management plan and even a business plan had been done by JICA with my team, has never been implemented. I mean, don't ask me why. Your guess should be as good as mine.
Yeah.
It is because of the amount of money involved in solid waste management. Finally, the thing we keep on talking about, affordable housing.
Yeah.
Affordable housing is actually part of the new plan. So we actually developed a plan to build affordable housing in Eastlands, where we had identified 2,500 houses, about 15,000 units, occupying 2,500 acres.
Yeah.
So we had said, it was not economical. We can use that land better because that's planning. Plan is about land use. And we said, what can we do with 2,500 acres? How can we make sure that our people live in a habitable manner, in line with the UN Habitat goal, because they are headquartered here. So when you ask, and there are many other things I can talk about, but when you ask, what did you do? Those are some of, in terms of institutional reforms, those are some of the things that we said. The other things like even developing urban, public space. Where they also came up, say, we have public space, we need to get title deeds, we need to have designs, we need to get partners. So You see the roundabouts being done properly, designed and landscaped.
Yes.
We are the ones who started. Physical and the numbers that you see on properties. Physical identification numbers.
Residence address. That's
physical addresses.
Yes.
The physical address system. When did it start? It is my administration that started the physical addressing system. By the time we're leaving, we're down CBD, industrial area, Upper Hill, and Westlands. Show me any other area that has been done after I left office. Show me.
I want us to continue with this conversation from affordable housing and talk about housing in Kenya. Because Johnson Sakaja says in 2050 we'll have a population of 10.5 million people in Kenya. Let's listen to him as he's stressing the need for high-rise building here in Kenya, in Nairobi.
Kamkunji, that the reason there was the airbase built zamani was to evacuate the president's area emergency. Akitoka State House kama kuna dignitary, wakati emergency apelekwe haraka Isili, apandishwe ndege. Nikamwambia rais, leo ukajaribu utakwama hapo kwa traffic. That it can't work. You cannot be evacuated through Isili anymore. So tutolee your restriction. I'm very happy. Rais amesikia akakubali. The height restriction has been removed. We are going to go up even up until 25 floors kwa hizi manyumba tunajenga. Na watu wa Nairobi waelewe vizuri. Kwa sababu nimesikia watu wakilalamika pande ya Kileleshwa, pande ya Lavington, ati manyumba yetu ilikuwa 1 story, ilikuwa nyumba ndogo, sasa apartment imekuja. Nairobi is 696 square kilometers. In 2050, Nairobi itakuwa na population ya 10.5 million people. Tutapanua Nairobi? Hapana. The only place we have to go is up.
So Kisia, you listen to Johnson Sakaja. He says we need housing now. The population in Nairobi is not sustainable because there is no housing. But the question also comes about, is there infrastructure for the people that are to come to Nairobi? You're looking at houses being constructed in Kileleshwa, in Lavington. It's called the New Pipeline Area. In these suburban areas, upscale neighborhoods. You listen to him, Kisia, what goes through your mind first?
Even before I quickly answer your question,
yes,
Jed, it is important we get into context. Where did is planning necessary? Yes. Planning is absolute for a city because planning ensures that you do what? It's guided, that your development and growth is guided and is directed. The use of your land. Because as Sakaja says, land is not unlimited, land is limited.
Yeah.
So there's need to plan and in a guided manner. So where did we start as a city, Nairobi? Of course, it has been there for more than 100 years. But planning started in 1948. And the plan that time, the white settlers, they had only one objective: to segregate Africans. Put Africans in in the eastern part of the city because their job was to provide labor for the whites. So they would move from Eastlands to come and work for the white settlers in Westlands, Karen, and so on and so forth. Okay, and Modaiga. So that was their plan, and it was a plan indeed. And it was there, containment. Africans were actually contained until we got independence. We had Kipande to move. You couldn't just move ovyo. You couldn't move. Okay? So that was the plan. And it lasted until we got independence. So after independence, our development partner said, listen, there is need to help this country. There is need to help Nairobi. There is need to intervene. So in 1973, World Bank did assist Nairobi put up what they call then the Nairobi Metropolitan Growth Strategy that ran from 1973 to the year 2000. It was heavily infrastructure based. We were supposed to build roads, supposed to build housing, supposed to build the necessary infrastructure to grow the city. Okay? We are supposed to come up with new urban centers and so on and so forth. But however, that was not implemented because of political reasons and lack of funding. So there was no goodwill to implement that plan.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when there's no goodwill, funding never followed. So I can say to a large extent, the Nairobi Metropolitan Growth Strategy was never implemented. never implemented, okay? And that's why now we have a dead growth in many things. Now, then after that, of course, now we took over in the year, that one went up to 2000. So from 2000 up to when we took over, there was no plan. So that's why the city became chaotic. So we quickly put up now what we're calling the new plan, okay? That had quick wins, dealing with solid waste management, revitalizing CBD, dealing with the issues of transport, coming up with a light rail, coming up with bus rapid system, creating new centers in Kasarani, Karen, and Ruaka, dealing with the issues of solid waste. So they had some things which were identified as the quick wins. There are about 6 areas, okay? And then, of course, now the main plan, okay? So that is what we delivered. Now, we are then supposed to have, the ones who came after we left office should have now done what we call area-specific plans, spatial plans, okay, neighborhood plans. So those are more detailed. You get a certain area, drawing from the master plan, you now say, okay, fine, what do people in this area exactly want? What do they want? Because the city is for them, the neighborhood is for them. So you get their specific input, it is documented, and then that becomes now the area-specific plan. Again, 13 years after I left office, we have had how many governors? Sakaja is the 3rd governor.
Yes.
Nobody has attempted to do
Kidero
it.
and Sonko.
Kidero came in, nothing happened. Sonko came in, nothing happened. Assisted by this lady called Kananu, nothing happened.
General Badi.
Now, Badi came, nothing happened. Now we have, Badi was just a stopgap. He was not a governor.
I'd like to hold you on that. General Badi, okay,
It was just a stopgap.
Nairobi, it seemed like everything is going to change. We saw what he was doing with development of some local clinics, road infrastructure. Would you say that is what we needed and that is what we need now?
You see, I have just said Badi was a stopgap measure. Yeah, stopgap. That things were about to get to a halt, then you bring him in to make sure that, we don't grind. Okay? So it was just stopgap. He did, quick fix.
Quick fix.
That was a quick fix.
And then come back to Sakaja.
Let's come back to Sakaja. So, in principle, nobody has an issue with compact development or a program or planning. Okay? We want to densify. Going up. And he's right. We don't have land. But in going up, there are certain things that must happen before you go up. And yesterday, the President Florence gave us a very interesting analogy. He said, like, getting to the bathroom with clothes. And your intention is to take a shower or take a bath. It won't happen. You'll defeat the purpose of doing it. So, there are certain things that must happen. And those things that must happen are actually captured in this new plan that we have. Okay? But they also require common sense. Which one comes first? Do you build skyscrapers and then extend the sewer line or modernize the sewer line? The sewer line that we're using, Jade, is a sewer line that was built almost 100 years ago, 70 years ago. The sewer lines are easy.
With all this construction going on?
The same. Go to Kileleshwa, Kilimani. And some areas don't even have, in Lavington, they don't have sewer lines. Karen, they're not on sewer lines.
That's why we see this exhaust.
Yes, because you see, already the infrastructure we have has been overstretched, completely overstretched. That's why they're busting. Because we are made, like areas like Kilimani, Kileleshwa, were made for single dwelling units. And we're talking about the sewer lines. We're talking about water. Water, even with the current, the intervention that Uhuru came with, because during Moi's time, there was a lull, okay? We never invested in water infrastructure. Never invested, okay? So right now, from all the water generating companies, we're only producing how many cubic liters of water? To 525,000 cubic liters of water.
And how much do we need?
In a day. We need at least 800,000, going to 1 million. Now, you are saying let us go up, you don't have water. You are saying let us go up, you don't have sewer lines. You are saying let's go up, we don't have roads. You are saying let's go up, we don't have adequate educational facilities. You are saying let's go up, we don't have adequate public health or hospitals to treat our people. You are saying let us go up, yet the disaster preparedness that we have can only mitigate to a certain extent. You can imagine our firefighters trying to put off a fire on the 50th floor. Currently, even putting off fire on the 20th floor is a challenge. What about if you go double? So nobody's saying that we should not densify or we should not compact. That is the way to go. In fact, the new plan recognizes that fact that we need to develop based on a compact city, okay? But not just compact in terms of a concrete jungle. There must be proper design, there must be proper planning, there must be greening, we must have proper greening policies that we left behind, that they have not been implemented. There's a greening policy that we did together with Habitat and University of Nairobi. Who is bothering? Who is looking at it?
When you say that no one is bothered with, high-rise building until we do construction of better infrastructure,
yes.
And you listen to people that live in Lavington and Kilelesho who say we bought these houses knowing very well that there's not going to be these high-rise buildings coming up. What do you tell them?
That's why we started off the conversation, Jed. We started off by saying that spatial plans. The spatial plans are developed with input from people from those particular zones. And that's why we have zoning policies. You get my point? So if you want to do anything in Modaiga, for example, or in Lavington, in Karen, you must have a neighborhood plan or a spatial plan or an area-specific plan. The people who live there, the stakeholders who are there, will tell you this is the type of plan we have. And I'm sure if you go to Karen, or if you come to Lavington or Modaiga, they'll tell you we do not want high-rise buildings. So what because of the level of investment. There are certain areas people say, okay, I think this makes sense. So it's about, a city is about human beings. Without human beings, without people, it will cease being a city.
Then what are we looking at, though? If you're looking at high-rise buildings being constructed, people of these areas say we wake up in the morning, we hear kuru, 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 they are jengering outside. What does this mean for Sakaja? Does this mean that he's forcing houses to be built without public participation?
You see, he's just doing an illegality. Because how do you start construction? Because see, even the Constitution says anything that will affect people adversely, they must participate. Must participate. You have actually no option. A governor is there, if you're lucky, for 2 terms, until you go. Then what happens? You must work towards leaving the city or the county better than you found it. You are working for people, you're not working for yourself. These are your employers. And when your employer tells you jump, you jump. When your employer says sit down, you sit. It cannot be the other way around. You cannot be the one giving instructions to your employer. So any governor in this country cannot give instructions to anybody. His instructions or her instructions are limited to your employees. The people you directly pay a salary. But the people who have employed you, and the people who elected you, are the people who pay taxes. You must take instructions from them.
What is the consequence of not taking instruction? Because it seems like for the governor, this is what you elected me to do. Come up with a plan for this country. What is the consequence?
You see, Jade, I think you're also getting a bit confused. The people elected you, and they are now telling you, we elected you to implement the new plan. We have a new plan that the people of Nairobi deliberated, discussed, agreed, and approved.
So anything else?
Anything outside the new plan is your own business. And you have no business, bring your business to where we are. Just implement the new plan.
There's a lot of backlash to President William Ruto because Johnson Sakaja came out and said, look, it's the president who gave us the green light. Was talking about, I think, areas to do with the airbase. They could not construct high-rise buildings. So he's using this as a scapegoat to him coming and build in Kilelesho.
You see, again...
Should we blame the president?
You see, again, I love my president. Because he's my friend and he's my president. But sometimes he talks without giving it a thought.
Yeah.
Firstly, if you look at the Planning Act of 2019, do you see the president's name anywhere? Where does he come in? Where is he drawing that? Where is he drawing the powers to give instructions on planning matters? Where? He is as ordinary as Philip Kisia when it comes to that matter.
Yeah.
There is a plan to guide us. For him, again, unfortunately, the people of Nairobi have a new plan that they want to implement. The new plan does not recognize the head of state. It only recognizes the people of Nairobi. So where is that is a roadside statement and should be taken very lightly because it does not hold water. It doesn't.
But Sakaja is using it now.
I mean, Sakaja should be intelligent enough to know that the president is not the law. He should follow the law. Okay? Where does the president come in the Planning Act of 2019? Where? Where does he come in? The president made a roadside statement. Maybe he was just joking. This is a big joke.
Sakaja took it.
Because probably he knows that April Fool's is coming, so he made a joke. So Sakaja should not take him seriously, at least so far as the issue of planning is concerned. Okay? And to make it worse, my president is not a planner. There was, during the Grand Coalition tenure, there was a time the government had made a decision to bring down all illegal buildings, all of them. And we had started. And Philip Kisia said, I'll bring them down. And I said, I'm ready. And I was bringing down buildings, okay, illegal buildings. But, because when you're in a space of leadership, you must listen to people. There are certain things that when I went round Kasarani and Bakasi, I discovered that people are built without approvals from City Hall, so it's illegal, but they have built beautiful homes. They meet the planning requirements. So I said, how can I work within what you have? The only way is to call professionals in the building space and we see how we can accommodate you. I'll give you the approvals post facto. I'll give you approvals, okay? That one I'll give you. And we have even sat down as a council and say, these are our people. They are hoodwinked to build. These are innocent people. Somebody has put in 10 million, 15 million. If it's a building, maybe 50 million, 100 million shillings. Do you just bring it down? Say, no. How best can we accommodate? The only condition I gave these people was, we are going to appoint people in the building space to carry out audits. From the advice I got from my team, almost 95% of the 90% of the buildings passed the test. So it's just auditing and giving, and then others needed some correction. But there is about 5% of the buildings that had to be brought down. So we are not going to destabilize investors in this country, but we had made that decision that buildings that are dangerous, buildings that are going to collapse, buildings that did not follow the building code must come down. Now, I lived in Eastlands, and I know that base very well. I don't know if Sakaja knows it very well, because I was born there. I was born in Eastlands. They are saying, what they are saying is that Embakasi, Isili Air Base has overlived its time.
Yeah.
If that's the case, shut it down. Move it elsewhere. If that's the case. Because maybe there are too many buildings already on the flight path, which is dangerous. Because one day, and God forbid, you can have this, this jet, passing through a building, and we may lose lives. So if there's a study to look at the pros and cons and say, okay, fine, we would rather do away with the airbase. It's not serving its purpose. I don't know whether the military will agree, but it's not serving its purpose because of ABCD. It was, we can use that land much better for something else, and we move the military elsewhere. That is an option, but it must be based on some study. You can't just wake up and say, okay, now because there are a few illegal buildings on the flight path, there's nothing that informs you whether Isli Air Base is redundant or not.
Yeah.
If it is indeed redundant, let's get rid of it, and then we spare these buildings from demolition. But clearly, several buildings are on the flight path.
I want to know about what you're talking about, public participation. You say you looked at buildings that were to be demolished, and you said these buildings are looking like they have passed all the tests, so they can stay there. When you look at the thing about drainage, Sakaja says sorting drainage, especially within expressway, because of the heavy downpour, can cost us 20 billion shillings. This money can be used well in education and healthcare. How does a governor make such a decision for the sake of the public?
Hold on, Jed. Where's the study? Where is the study that informed that statement?
That is
to do drainage,
yes,
we need 20 billion.
Yes.
Where is the study? There must be some engineers there must be some road engineers who worked out. And where's the study? Share that report.
I believe he has CEC.
Share that report.
Who has told him that?
Forget about CEC. The engineers, road engineers, have they carried out a study? If indeed they've carried out a study, where is it? Okay, and express highway is just one of. It's not even something to talk about. We are talking about drainage in Nairobi City. Let's not lose focus as I talk about the express highway. We are talking about drainage or lack of drainage in Nairobi City. The drainage system we have was built in the 40s or whatever 30s. It is already overstretched. We need to build a completely new system. Drainage system and sewer system. We need to build roads. We need to expand roads. We started off very well with the Grand Coalition, building link roads, the ones you people call bypasses, Link Road 1, I think, up to 6, the one that runs from, and by the way, that is courtesy my team again.
Yes.
It was built by JICA.
Oh.
The one that runs from Ngong Road up to Westlands, and then Oloi Tok Tok, Olengruoni, the Ring Road Kilimani.
Yes.
Those are link roads. And then, of course, now the government, Kibaki's government, built the bypasses, which are necessary, which we didn't have. So we need to build the infrastructure, bring it up to speed, then start building the skyscrapers.
Okay.
Because if you build this, it is like saying, you are treating somebody who's not sick. What a waste of resources.
I want us to finish this conversation, but we have to talk about what is ailing Nairobi now, healthcare. With Kenya Medical, with KMPDU coming out and telling the governor that, look, you're threatening us 12 hours ultimatum to go back to work. We have CBA with the national government. Sakaja coming and saying all these things about medical interns and your CBA, don't involve us, just go back to work. This is not matters to do with the county. Is it dealing with this situation well? Let
me tell you, Jed, I remember Martin Shikuku. He was not as educated as you, but he appreciated one thing. In terms of value that you place on human capital. He said, number one are teachers. Those are the people, the community, the society must value most. Because it is through a teacher that you get doctors, engineers, lawyers, and everybody. So a teacher is number one. So in terms of reward, in terms of respect, we must give priority to teachers and respect them and honor them. Number two, according to Martin Shikuku, you may not have heard of him, but according to Martin Shikuku,
I know him, yeah.
And I agree with him, are doctors. Because if you have a population and the healthcare is poor, and you don't have doctors to treat these people, yeah? You know, you can have a population that is not healthy, and if you have a population not healthy, you cannot grow, okay? You can have serious challenges, because then you don't have even the human capital to deal with what you need to be dealing with. Thirdly and finally, I'm not saying other professions are not important, but in that order, police officers. Now, anybody who values education, anybody who values education will know that doctors have a place in this community society. Anybody who values education. Doctors, for example, they spend 6 years in school. Some of us went 3 years, we got the first degree. Those who finished, completed university. 3 years, some took 4. Yeah. Engineers, 5. Okay? Others take even 7. Neurosurgeons and so on and so forth. Pharmacists take 6. Those years, now they take 5. You surely must be able, if you are somebody who sees sense, if you are somebody who is serious in taking this country forward, you must have some basic decorum on how you treat professionals. To get to where they are, they work hard and work smart. You cannot make sweeping statements. So my advice to all the governors will be to treat professionals properly, because you cannot progress without the human capital, and especially doctors. Otherwise, you will have a sick county, you will have a sick nation, and a sick nation will be sick economically, will be sick politically, will be sick socially. It is dead. So don't attempt to mistreat doctors. Don't attempt to mistreat professionals. They work, and they work hard. They work harder than most of us who find ourselves in political offices, and the only thing we can show are birth certificates. So let us be serious on how we treat professionals. We must treat them with decorum. We must respect them. We must work with them. Let us not threaten doctors. Let us not threaten any professional.
How would you navigate this issue? CBA has been signed between doctors and the Ministry of Health, and then you're a governor and you find out that your doctors are not in hospitals. How do you deal with that?
You see, they have Council of Governors. The Council of Governors have a liaison between the Council of Governors and the national government. The doctors have issued strikes notices before. This is an issue that should have been dealt with in good time. So not all is lost. We are all Kenyans. I would urge the national government, the county government, and the doctors to sit down and discuss and find a way forward. Yes, it is true that we may not be able to pay them what their value is. We may not be able for the time being. But at least let us get some midpoint. You cannot, somebody who has spent 6 years, just waited to intern to be called a doctor, 6 years, and you want to pay him 50K. I mean, that's a no. I can understand why even my son is so frustrated living in this country. Because Dad, I spent, I don't know how many years doing pilot. I've spent so many years doing aviation engineering. So many years, and where is the reward? This country does not value professionals. It is time, if we want to be like a Singapore or Malaysia or even India, it is time we stop taking professionals for granted, and more so doctors.
Then finally, as we're winding up, we've had a long conversation how to run this city. I want to know what qualities or strategies should Johnson Sakaja have to effectively run the city? Has he even called you because you are running the city, asked you, Kisia, imekuwa ngumu, what should I do?
You see, he doesn't have to call Kisia, but you know, first thing, any person in a position of leadership, you must surround yourself with competent and qualified people. That's the first thing you must do. Number two, you must, you know, accept the fact that you don't know everything, that you rely on people who you have appointed to give you the necessary backup and support. So listen to them. Just do something very simple. Listen to professionals. they'll make your life very easy. Okay? The other thing that, that you must do, again, it boils down to being a good listener, is listen to your customer. In this case, the customer is a voter, the guy who took you to office. Don't think for a second that they don't know what they want. They are so clear in their minds. Just keep on consulting them. Consult the MCAs. Consult the elected leaders, members of parliament and senator. Let us work as a team, because for us to succeed, we need teamwork.
All right. Thank you for tuning in into this conversation about how to run a city. This is Nairobi County. In case you don't know what is happening, now you know. Johnson Sakaja is having a headache. How does he run this city? Because look, it's getting tougher as the days progress. I'm here with Philip Kisia. Philip Kisia is unscripted, telling the governor, just listen. Skiza too, and things will become easier for you. Final word, Kisia.
I would urge those who are currently in positions of leadership, particularly in the Kenya Kwanza government, they should stop having this thing I call zero mentality approach to management. It basically means that you always want to start from zero. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of other resources. Always start from where your predecessor left. Find out where are we now. Then you decide on where we want to go. But if you want to start from zero all the time, we'll always remain at zero. So zero approach, mentality approach management needs to cease, like yesterday.
All right, like yesterday, if we start from zero, we end up at zero. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day. Have a good Friday.